Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to formally welcome everyone, including members of the gallery and press, to this council meeting. My name is Councillor Owen Sharkey. I'm the Mayor of the Golden Plains Shire Council. Tonight, this council meeting is taking place within the council chambers at the Golden Plains Shire Civic Centre in Bannockburn and is open to the public. This meeting has been live streamed in accordance with Council's governance rules, and I welcome any viewers joining us online as the meeting is open to the public to attend. If the live stream ceases at any time, the meeting will continue. Just to make sure, councillors, that all your microphones are on there and just speaking clearly into the speakers, just so that people in gallery, members of the gallery, can hear us. I'd also like to take the opportunity to acknowledge Ben Jordan, who's been our acting director for the last 12 months or so, but also acknowledge that we have a new director here, Jonathan Daly, who joins us for our first meeting. It's only started yesterday, but joins us for the first meeting today as the Director of Community Planning and Growth, which I think we can all appreciate is one of the most pivotal and most important roles to play in such a growing community such as the Golden Plains Shire. So, Jonathan, thank you and welcome. Thank you. I will now recite the opening declaration on behalf of all councillors. We, the councillors of Golden Plains Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interest of the community, and that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in this council. I would also like to make an acknowledgement of country and acknowledge that Golden Plains Shire spans the traditional lands of the Wadawurrung and Eastern Maar people. We acknowledge them as the traditional owners and custodians. Council pays its respects to both the Wadawurrung and Eastern Maar elders, past and present. Council extends that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Golden Plains Shire. Also appreciating that today is the 26th of May, which is National Sorry Day, which remembers and acknowledges the mistreatment of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who were forcefully removed from their families and communities, which we now know as the Stolen Generations. Councillors, is there any apologies or leave of absence? No, thank you. Councillors, we have a resolution before us to confirm the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held on the 28th of April 2026 as circulated. Can I have a mover? I moved Councillor Hayden and seconded Councillor Phelan. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Councillors, are there any declarations of conflicts of interest? No, thank you. Public question time runs for 30 minutes prior to the consideration of the formal agenda by Council. We consider questions received with notice from the public. I will call each person who has submitted a question forward. Please come up to the microphone and ask your question as submitted. I note that question time is not an opportunity to make general statements or enter into debate with councillors or officers. We do have here this evening Julie Cameron. Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Julie. Thank you.
So my question to the Mayor and the councillors is that the Growing Places strategy for the Golden Plains Shire was adopted last year, and I was here on the day it was adopted. And the potential growth areas were identified, which include Meredith, where I live, and it was envisaged that there would be significant change for Meredith. So my questions are one and two. What progress has been made towards amendments to the planning scheme so that the Growing Places strategy can commence? And what timeline has been developed to submit amendments for the Minister's approval? And my second question, For significant development to occur at Meredith, it was determined that growth of the township would be constrained without improved facilities, especially main sewerage. Therefore, what discussions had occurred with Barwon Water in regards to plans for installing main sewerage to the township of Meredith? Now, Daniel from Strategic Planning did send me some information on my questions, but it is quite vague in that he said that he had spoke with Barwon and that there is a 5-year budget cycle for reticulated sewage to townships, and that Meredith would have to, the council would have to submit a business case to get reticulated sewage to Meredith, and that another township within the state of Victoria was currently under planning.
Thank
so
you.
My question is there a timeline? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Julie, for your time this evening, and thank you very much for your very important questions. I will throw the Director Daly straight into the deep end if you'd like to answer that one on behalf of us. Thank you very much, Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Julie. In relation to the first question, on what progress has been made towards the amendment to the planning scheme, the Growing Places strategy was adopted by Council in June 2025. Since that time, it has been provided to the Minister for Planning, who has authorised the preparation and exhibition of the planning scheme amendment, C106 and GPLA, to implement the Growing Places strategy. The amendment was publicly exhibited between the 23rd of February and the 13th of April 2026. Council considered the submissions to the exhibition, and a report with recommendations to progress the amendment has been provided to this council meeting. Okay. And in relation to the second question, with regard to significant development in Meredith, although Growing Places strategy identifies Meredith as a suitable location for potential future growth and development, the required infrastructure in terms of reticulated sewage is not able to be authorised, funded or delivered by Council. Discussions have occurred between Council and Barwon Water, who are the relevant local water authority, around the potential provision of reticulated sewage infrastructure for Meredith. To progress this potential investment, Council is proposing a feasibility study for reticulated sewage in Meredith, and this is an advocacy priority with the Victorian State Government. It is listed as an advocacy priority in Council documentation. The Mayor and CEO have raised it as an item for discussion at meetings with relevant state ministers and local members. It has also been discussed with Regional Development Victoria and will continue to be highlighted in the lead up to the 2026 Victorian state election, with the aim of getting funding to progress this priority project.
Thank you very much, Director Daly. And just further to that, Julie, I think my time on council, both as a councillor and as a mayor, as part of that advocacy role that council plays when we do meet our local leaders and MPs, that we're getting a little bit more of a hearing each time. I'm personally growing with confidence with regards to that, whilst appreciating it's still a bit of work to be done, but it is getting more of a hearing each and every meeting. So hopefully exciting times ahead. Thank you very much for your question. Now we move on to consider the formal agenda. Item 7.1, councillors, on page 6 of the agenda. The adoption of the Golden Plains Shire Council Budget 2026 to 2027. Is there any questions, councillors? If there's no questions, I'll seek a mover. Moved Councillor Robbins, seconded Councillor. Cool. Thank you very much. Councillor Robbins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Adopting the budget is one of the most important responsibilities that we have as councillors. It's really important for us to be comfortable with the budget position and to feel a sense of ownership of the budget outcomes. That's something I've been pretty vocal about over the past year, and I think that's been heard loud and clear by the officers. I'm extremely grateful for the work that's been done to support councillors in understanding the financial health of the organisation and engaging with the budget. We also engaged early with the community. We heard from residents through our budget survey and budget submissions process, and what we heard was some clear themes around roads and road condition, as well as community connection, health and safety. We know that the financial environment we operate in is a challenging one, and that improving our long-term financial sustainability is going to require ongoing discipline and careful decision-making. Our financial sustainability strategy is going to be a big focus going forwards, but we're making a choice to balance that with providing those programs and services that we know are valued by our residents. This budget also reflects a sensible emphasis on maintaining existing infrastructure, with almost half of the Capital Works program focused on asset renewal. I'm ready to adopt this budget, so I support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Cook?
Nothing further to add.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cook. Would anyone like to speak against the budget? And also, just appreciating the how important this document is, I'm happy to have anyone speak for the budget if you like. Councillor Gamble, thank you.
Last year, Golden Plains Shire had to make a revised budget and obtain an overdraft facility to account for an alarming drop in cash reserves and potential financial unsustainability. Well, this budget very much addresses that situation. So the priorities and tone are one of fiscal responsibility overall. I wouldn't say future looking, but providing financial sustainability whilst allowing implementation of the council plan, as detailed in the later quarterly report for this agenda. The progress still being made there. So the positives I see with this budget include we have a more sustainable financial base, money from renewable energy projects are more visible and consistent. That's a good thing we've got them, by the way. So cost of borrowings is only 1% of the budget. And also we've had more interest in Lamandra Drive sales picking up, which provides much appreciated revenue going ahead. I also note there are hardship allowances and provision of payment plans and flexible arrangements for those struggling. Fees and charges have been increased in some areas, but not unreasonably and in line with other local governments. Negatives, as I see them, are the expectation of less grants and commitments made by state government in particular, the cumulative effects and the grinding down of the fair go rate capping policy. The increasing costs are likely to be a real limiter on identified and needed projects going ahead or not, capital projects. And also lack of community input and engagement is a limiting effectively in the eyes of any residents, because the last draft opportunity for submissions by community members was last year, basically in the lead up to the Christmas holiday period, although there was a bit more later on. There has been funding reductions across many areas of council activities, but so going forward, I'd like to see, in terms of next year, a review of the rates policy. I really believe it needs to be fairer to people on lower fixed incomes and average people with young families that have to travel and no capacity to downsize their properties. I also think we need to consider allowing additional community submissions on the final form of the budget. I've heard from a couple of residents who have been disappointed that they don't have that capacity. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gamble. Would any other councillor like to speak to the budget? I'll take that you reserved your rights. I'll come back to you then. So, Any other councillor? Councillor Hayden.
Speak to community services. Put a focus on the continued implementation of the municipal early years and children's plan in partnership with community and service providers, with our key priorities being inclusive access to services, programs and facilities, improved access to services that support children and families, including mental health and allied health services and workforce, planning to meet the increased service provision in early years over the coming years. We've had continued implementation of the Kindergarten Infrastructure Services Plan, KISP, to ensure the infrastructure to support community is completed in a timely manner. Continued investment in the Golden Plains Community Planning Program that supports community to build their resilience and capacity and to implement locally planned priority projects. Investment in local community inclusion initiatives aligned to the Disability Action Plan, which I'm a part of, as recommended by the Disability Advisory Committee, as well as supporting other diversity and inclusion priorities. Continued work on the development of the Innovate RAP, planning and coordination of the annual and highly successful Golden Plains Career Expo that supports youth and other community members to research and plan future career opportunities. Continuation of the community grants program, including those in partnership with external funders to support community groups to enhance community inclusion and activation, and enhance community safety, compliance and animal management programs supported by the recent adoption of the domestic animal management plan. So I'm pleased to support all of these things. Thank you.
Councillor Hayden, would any other councillor like to speak for the budget? Councillor Phelan, thank you.
While I support the budget wholeheartedly, I think there's things in the budget that we really need to address, and that is one of my pet subjects is roads. And I think with this budget that we're putting $7 million into it, and it's $7 million will be really well spent. It's very disappointing that the federal government and the state government don't live up to their obligation as far as road funding is concerned, remembering that the federal government gets about $13 billion a year out of the tax. So, and we get about 50% of it back. And we know, wherever you drive today, that the roads, just not in the Golden Plains Shire, in all shires, are in really bad repair. And if we let that infrastructure fall away, we're never ever going to be able to bring it back. So I'm really pleased to see that we're putting that sort of money into local roads and footpaths and cycling paths to a certain extent. But I think it's very important that we continue to fund it and keep it up, because we'll never ever be able to bring it back.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phelan. Any other councillors like to speak? Come back to you. Councillor Cook, reserved right.
Thank you. Whilst generally I support the budget in the terms that Councillor Robbins has set out, I'd like to draw attention to, like Mr. Councillor Phelan, roads. Roads are important in the Shire. The Roads to Recovery is a federal government grant which has been increased from last year of $2.1 million, almost 20%, to $2.5 million. So there is certainly some movement and some support from the federal government, which should be acknowledged in the budget. In addition, the external grants extend to $1.9 million to a Russell's Bridge Road Replacement Fund, which is very interesting for the people who live near Russell's Bridge, not so interesting for those who might live elsewhere. And there's $50,000 towards the footpaths and $1.5 million in grants, not on roads, but in grants towards Teesdale female-friendly change rooms. And I think that's a great social modernisation that these sort of facilities need, both sexes to have friendly and supportive change rooms. On the infrastructure side of things, there's been a $4.3 million delivery of recreation and community infrastructure projects, including community facilities and rec reserves. There's another $14.5 million towards maintenance of our sealed and unsealed road network, 1,700 kilometres of it. There's $1.5 million towards maintenance of the drainage network, and $1.3 million in tree maintenance and verge maintenance. So there's a lot going on out there that people might think, oh, nothing ever happens, but there is a large amount of council's funds of 30% or thereabouts in roads, direct spending on roads and the infrastructure surrounding them. And in addition to that, the budget contains another 1.4 million for roadsides, townships, splash parks, streetscapes. So there is money being spent. There is money being spent where people want it to be spent, and I just hope that they see that in terms of the whole shire rather than simply in what may be happening in their own backyard. So it's in there in the budget.
Much, Councillor Cook. Thank you kindly. Councillor Roberts, if you'd like to sum up.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillors, I will put it to a vote. All those in favour? The item has passed. So thank you very much for that, councillors. And as a few councillors have mentioned, that is, without doubt, the biggest project we have each and every year as councillors and as officers. Delivering that budget comes as a long process, and we'll start now on the next one very shortly. But to also echo Councillor Robbins' words there with regards to ownership, I think most of us as councillors are sort of happy with the process that we've gone through this year, and a little bit more ownership of the budget and the process that we went through. So on behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank all of the officers, except Director Daly that didn't do much towards that, but everyone else. Thank you very much to the CEO and in particular, I was about to say, Director Gray, not Councillor Gray, but thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Councillors, item 7.2 on page 11 of the agenda. Councillors, is there any questions with regards to this item? If there's no questions to this item, I will seek a mover. Moving the item, Councillor Robbins. Seconding the item, Councillor Gamble. Thank you, Councillor Robbins.
Thank you. This item relates to a planning scheme amendment to implement the Growing Places strategy. This strategy is a really important piece of long-term planning, and a huge amount of work and consultation has gone into it over the last 4 years. The purpose of the strategy and the amendment is to direct residential growth to appropriate areas so that growth occurs in an orderly and sustainable way. This amendment has been on exhibition, and there were a number of submissions. 2 of the submissions that can't be resolved, which means that our options are either to send the matter to a planning panel, abandon the amendment, or make changes to try to please the submitters. One of the submitters, the submission is around the amendment not recognising the role of carbon and diversity offsetting and other vegetation restoration activities. This objection appears to promote a particular set of land use and economic activities that fall completely outside the scope and purpose of the amendment. The other submission objects to identification of Batesford as an area for minimal growth and to a particular parcel of land not being supported for rezoning. The submitter argues that the land is free of constraints that would make growth inappropriate and that there's likely to be future demand for housing in the area. On the other hand, there are competing concerns about sequencing of growth, protecting agricultural interfaces and avoiding land use conflict. Ultimately, I think the requested changes are in the nature of an exception to the overall settlement strategy. I think a planning panel process can help us test the question of whether the changes requested by both of the unresolved submissions threaten the overall strategic coherence of the amendment. And I think it would be a real shame after the years of work that have gone into the Growing Places strategy for it to be diluted or eroded at the last hurdle. So I'm happy to send this to a planning panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Gamble.
Much as what Councillor Robbins said, in addition, I'd like to thank the planning officers. It is a profound body of work it's involved several years of work from our planning officers. And it's not finished yet, because this recommendation represents a significant milestone in seeking a referral of the relevant submissions made and the document itself to an independent planning panel. Like Councillor Robbins, I note the Cassinia submission, which emphasises some environmental concerns, which I raised with officers, but it's considered the concerns the Ksenia submission raised are best dealt with as part of the rural land use strategy policy. So that'll be one of a few significant issues for the planning panel to assess, which I'm confident they'll do a good job, and I'm confident in the strategy as a whole and wish it good luck. Thank you.
Very much, Councillor Gamble. Would any councillor like to speak against the motion? Nobody. Councillor Kirby speaking against the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I just have a concern about having Stonehaven included in this report. I just feel that we have 52 communities in the Golden Plains Shire, and here we are going to put a lot of money to build infrastructure in Stonehaven in the future. Now, this is going to impact the residents, it's going to impact council for the funding to support this. We have so many bigger communities in Golden Plains Shire, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of residents being, you know, moving to some of these rural areas. I think it, as well as Meredith is another area, and we have to be considerate of the people who live in Meredith, because at the end of the day, do they know how much it's going to cost to have infrastructure, to have their septics removed, and to have not septic put in, but I can't think of the word.
Sewage.
Sewage. Sewage put in. You know, it was at least $10,000 when it was put in Snisdale. I think at this time, I think it's going to be in excess of $20,000. So I think at the end of the day, it's something that we really have to be mindful for the residents of. So this is my reason for not supporting it, because I just feel that, you know, Batesford was included in the area. It is a township that's already there. It's got infrastructure to support growth, and I think at the end of the day we're going ad hoc and having areas that are going to need so much more money for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kirby, would any councillor like to speak for the motion? Councillor
Yeah, I'll take on board what Councillor Kirby said, but I think we've got to start somewhere. And if we don't start, we're never going to go anywhere. And as in time gone by, when the state government was putting money into small town sewage plants, but the current government withdrew that funding. So now there's a burden on the community or the households in those communities to pay. But at the end of the day, if it's not done, it's not going to happen, because you won't get away with planning today and making heavy subdivisions if there's not sewage available or there. So I think there's a lot of work to be done to get there, but this is the start of getting there. And I think once this comes through, then we can go and look at governments or funding to build these projects into communities.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phelan. Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Anyone like to speak for the motion? Councillor Robbins, will ask you to close.
Thank you. The amendment is consistent with the Growing Places strategy as adopted by this council in June last year, including the identification of Stonehaven. So it seems to me that the amendment is doing exactly what we had said it should do, and yeah, just reiterate my point that I think we need to go to a planning panel on this one. Thank you.
Thank you much, Councillor Robbins. Councillors, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 7.3, page 21 of the agenda. Council note the 2025-26 Community Satisfaction Survey report as attached. Councillors, are there any questions? No questions. I'll seek a mover. Moving the motion. With no one.
Oh, I'll move it.
Councillor Gamble moving. Councillor Phelan second. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Basically, the results are disappointing. There are some positives. The key findings and results are tabled on page 22 of the agenda. What we're looking at is a standardised survey allowing comparison or benchmarking against all 79 Victorian local governments. I think it's 79, thereabouts. And
79, yeah.
And councils of similar types, being like Golden Plains Shire is classified as a large rural. So it offers comparative figures of how the people in these different communities regard their councils and breaking it down to different aspects of it. So we've seen a continuing decline basically since 2021, when Councillor Kirby was mayor, I know. And so I'll look at positives that to start with, we have this survey. So the transparency is important, and we do have this data to work with and to work out ways to improve the parts that we're going negative on. We've also seen that when application and effort is made in areas such as customer service and engagement, then we can turn it around and get better results. So I commend the leadership and officer commitment in these areas, which has been reflected in these results. And negatives, unfortunately, these results indicate a negative perception of council in general. It's especially a big decline in council direction and value for money. Waste management, there's competing, well, that's been complex with the implementation of the glass bin, the purple bin, and there's competing expectations on the glass recycling schemes there, so can understand a bit of confusion and negativity about that. There's also, despite years of significant funding going into road conditions around the Shire, the perceptions, which I don't think match reality most of the time, remain basically negative in these areas. I think our roads are better than what people perceive them to be, even compared with other shires that score better in these surveys. So that's an aspect that we need to investigate and find out why that's happening. And I really do think we need to try and find more ways to improve the community's perception of council and the services that we provide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gamble. Councillor Phelan, second.
I'll reserve my right.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phelan. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Councillor Phelan?
Oh, well, just taking on from Councillor Gamble, I think that the survey has been in decline for 4 years, and it's going to take a fair bit of work to reinvent this municipality. But I think the roads are one issue because everybody uses them, so that's the first thing they notice. We do a lot of work in sporting grounds and things around towns, but at the end of the day, it's really hard to satisfy everybody. And there's always going to be people with an axe to grind against the council, one issue or another. But I think that we've got to really knuckle into the road system. We've got to get it better, and people then look at it. I think as far as the garbage is concerned, it's a bit of an issue, but I can't really see why we provide the service, but we've gone down 7 points, I think, or 4 points, and I don't understand why, because we pick it up and we get rid of it into tips or into recycling. So we're doing a fairly good job there, not much different to everyone else does. But people, you've got to realise too that people just have an axe to grind with local government. So therefore, we're the lowest government in the country and we're the most accessible, and therefore you've got to put up with it. Just imagine if they ran a community survey now on this state government. So we've got issues because we're close to the people, and I think we've got to live with it, but we've got to try and improve.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phelan. Councillors, with no one speaking against the motion, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour?
Can I?
Motion is carried.
concluding
No.
comments?
No. There's nobody speaking against the motion, Councillor Gamble, so there's no debate.
Okay, well,
That's the governance rules and how we have been doing it for a long time now, but there's no debate, so there's no debate, there's no close. Item 7.3, councillors, on page 26, 25 of the agenda, my apologies. The council adopt the community awards policy as attached. I'll seek a mover. I'm moving the motion, Councillor Hayden, and seconding the motion, Councillor Cook. Thank you very much, Councillor Hayden.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really pleased to support this motion, the adoption of the community awards policy. I also want to acknowledge how valuable it has been to be a part of this refresh process and the selection committee discussions. It was clear throughout that there was a genuine commitment to making these awards more inclusive, more community-led and more reflective of the many different ways people contribute to life in Golden Plains. I particularly welcome the broadened assessment criteria because community contribution doesn't always look the same. I think the move from citizen to community hero is a really positive and modern change. It sends a strong message that belonging and contribution matter more than labels and that people do not need to fit into one narrow definition to be recognised for the difference they make in our shire. The inclusion of previous award recipients on the panel is another fantastic initiative because it strengthens the community voice within the process and builds on the spirit of peer recognition. Golden Plains is full of extraordinary people doing extraordinary things, often very quietly and without recognition, and I think this refreshed policy creates a fairer, clearer and more inclusive framework to celebrate them. I'd like to thank officers and everyone involved in the refresh process for the work that has gone into this, and I'm very happy to support the recommendation, and I really loved being a part of the recent awards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hayden. Councillor Cook.
I think that the Community Awards was a great addition or a refresh in last year's calendar, and it'll go forward again because it shows the depth and breadth of the very vital people within the community who make the things go around. There are 4 categories. The community hero, the senior community hero, the young community hero and the community group. So it covers a wide variety of contributors. And I was very moved to be there in the room when the awards were made, and I'm sure we'll find even more worthy people again this year. I commend the policy.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cook. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Nobody speaking against the motion. Councillor Gamble.
Yeah, in order to speak, I'm forced to oppose the motion, it seems. I recognise there are many positives with these awards, and I thank the Council Communications team in their efforts and achievement in improving the awards in providing this refresh. The award categories and assessment criteria changes provide greater clarity around the entry criteria. Changes to assessment panel structure also provides community representation, and although the process might be more complex, it reflects our status as a growing shire and deflects from potential negative perceptions of councillor bias, etc. On the other hand, I believe there is capacity and it is desirable that we look at broadening the award categories. I note Norman Swan at the G21 keynote address outlined the research, for example, which overwhelmingly demonstrates the fact that we live in a time, for example, of unheralded adolescent anxiety and youth mental health negative circumstances. And this is leading to a big increase in overall chronic disease and will do so in the future. The main reason is because young people, due to lack of agency and control in a time of uncertainty, with the climate emergency and now the breakdown of the rules-based order, people, especially young people...
Just point of order, just in regards to speaking to the motion, I feel that you're going a good deal away from the motion, which is the council adopt a community awards policy, and you are taking...
I'm arguing the reasons why we need to broaden the categories.
I'm just struggling to understand what climate change has to do with that community awards policy.
Well, in this time of fundamental change, there is scope for council to use these awards and further broaden the categories to help our young people especially be healthier and happier people. In future years, we could have, for example, a specific environmental group award and or a school category, for example, to recognise climate resilience.
Point of order,
and
Mr Mayor.
Projects.
Councillor, he's not talking to the motion, he's talking about what we should do. That's not included in this recommendation.
I'm opposing this.
That's discussion for another day.
Councillor Gamble, if you could just try to keep it on point. I know you've got your personal issues that you want to bring into the chamber, but just speaking to
The whole point of these community awards...
Councillor Gamble, I'm not going to enter into a debate with you. If you just try and speak to the motion, which is a policy.
Well, I think we should be furthering the scope of these awards to encourage schools, for example, to recognise climate resilience and to help teachers motivate and have recognition for students' work and the importance of this activity. These awards provide a way that could be done, the council could do for very little investment and resources needed to do that. So that said, I'm happy to support these awards going forward, but I will continue to believe that we can do better into the future with these awards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gamble. Would anyone else like to speak for the motion? Speak against the motion? Councillor Hayden, I'll ask you to close the debate.
No, I think while acknowledging what Councillor Gamble has said, I think it's also important to state that it does. I think the award categories are very open. The only one that's not available for young people at school or for people involved in community groups is the Senior Community Hero of the Year, which is 60 plus. All of the others are very wide age range and also open to anybody in those categories, which I think is really fantastic. It would be quite difficult, bless you, to cover every single award possible. I can think of probably another dozen off the top of my head that you could add in there, as well as the ones that Councillor Gamble is saying. But I think the great thing about having these four is they're very wide and very open and sort of reflect a number of different things. So I'm very happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hayden. Councillors, I will put that to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 7.5 on page 28 of the agenda. The Council adopt the revised community engagement policy as attached. I'll seek a mover, or if there's any questions, councillors. If there's no questions, I'll seek a mover. Moving the motion, Councillor Robbins, and seconding the motion, Councillor Gamble. Councillor Robbins.
Thank you. This is a review of Council's community engagement policy. Structurally, there's quite a bit of change to the document, putting things under different headings and laying things out differently and adding some definitions, but the policy intent is unchanged. I think the changes definitely provide some more clarity, which is great, so I'm ready to adopt them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Gamble.
Yeah, I note the last paragraph, page 28, which puts it pretty succinctly, that it is recommended the updated policy is adopted as it ensures the policy remains legislatively compliant, provides clear guidance to council staff and the community, and supports a consistent and proportionate approach to engagement across council activities. I will note, however, while it sounds and it's good, I contend that perhaps on the other hand, and given our very poor and declining overall community satisfaction rating, particularly in council direction category, we do need some more imaginative, creative and cut-through approaches and ways to engage to turn around the perceptions we were talking about previously. I know most council officers will still have jobs in about 2.5 years, but not necessarily councillors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gamble. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? With no one speaking against the motion, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 7.6, Risk Management Framework. Councillors, page 30 of the agenda. Are there any questions? If there's no questions, I'll seek a mover. Moving the motion, Councillor Robbins, and seconding the motion, Councillor Gamble. Councillor Robbins.
Thank you. This is a complete rewrite of the risk management framework and risk appetite statement, and it's part of positioning council to improve its organisational maturity. At council, decisions are made every day that require balancing competing priorities, financial constraints and long-term consequences. This framework has a focus on building a risk-aware culture. Risk management is not owned only by auditors or councillors or senior managers, it's embedded in decision-making at every level of council. Every staff member makes decisions that involve risk, and being empowered to identify and manage risk appropriately is critical to a healthy organisation. I know a lot of effort has gone into this framework and into making sure it can be readily used by staff, and I'm very happy to adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Gamble seconding the motion.
Yes, thank you. I'll just note that there's, I'm finding that local government, maybe it's because we're getting bigger or whatever, it's becoming more quasi-corporate in some ways. The structures are becoming more elaborate, and that's good and needs to happen. But on the other hand, I also remind people that democracy by its nature is messy. There must and should be a balance in local government between the generally risk-averse corporate approach, which tends to be defensive in nature, I would contend, and the punters, the councillors that come from the citizenry to represent and do what their communities want and want them to do, and to help lead them into better places into the future. Councillors have other imperatives, or should do, other than being figure pieces for dare I say it, a bureaucracy. I support the work done around this framework, but also raise these other slightly counter concerns relating to the potential guardrails on looking for more creative and maybe slightly risky opportunities and perspectives that could potentially represent the citizens and what their needs are more than what is always in the best interests of the council as an organisation. So I'm just pointing out there is a tension there, and I'm reminding everybody that we are a democracy and it's right and natural that sometimes it is messy. Thank you.
Just as a point of clarity, Councillor Gamble, you are speaking for the motion?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Is there any councillors who'd like to speak against the motion? No one speaking against the motion. I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 7.7, page 33 of the agenda. Council adopt the consideration of planning applications policy and procedure as attached. Councillors, are there any questions?
Yes.
Question?
Yes, can I have clarification whether this should be considered an alternative motion or as an amendment?
I don't know what this is, and this isn't something until it is something. So I'll seek a mover.
Fair enough.
I'll seek a mover. Moving the motion, moving the recommendation, Councillor Robbins. Seconding the recommendation, Councillor Phelan. Councillor Robbins, please.
Thank you. Statutory planning is a technical discipline where decisions are made in a structured way, much more so than a lot of other matters that come before us. And so there's an argument that goes that planning decisions should be made by expert officers, not by councillors who might be swayed by biases and political pressures outside of the proper technical grounds. The other side of that argument is that planning is a democratic function that often requires a value judgment on behalf of the community, and so decisions should be made in public and by people who are democratically accountable. I think we all recognise that there needs to be a sensible middle ground between those two positions. and it's just a question of exactly where that middle ground is. This policy change removes the threshold minimum number of objections in favour of a wide community interest threshold for calling in a planning application to be considered in the chamber. It also increases the minimum number of councillors needed to support a call-in from 2 to 3. Requiring the support of 3 councillors out of a group of 7 strikes me as appropriate and should be readily achievable if councillors are engaging constructively with one another. So I'm supportive of the changes as recommended. Thank you.
Thank you much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Phelan.
Oh, no, well, so I'll reserve my right, mate.
Thank you much, Councillor Phelan. Would anyone like to speak against the motion?
I'd like to raise an amendment, please.
Seeking an amendment to the motion. That being?
I've circulated the amendment on a paper and I'll read it out. The Council adopt the consideration of planning applications policy and procedure as attached, subject to amending all references to 3 councillors required for call-in to be revised to 2 councillors required.
So I'll take that as and I'll ask governors to jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll take that as an amendment to the motion.
Yep.
That the motion gets carried in its entirety, except for that one section, which is a small change.
Governance views it's an alternative.
Yep. No, I will take the governance advice that is a substantial change to it. So I will take that as a foreshadowing motion, that motion is substantially different to this one. I'm taking governance advice on that one. So I'll let you speak against this motion, and then I'll also acknowledge that if this motion is lost, then I can take that as a foreshadowed motion.
Okay.
So you're speaking against the motion.
Okay. Well, I think that we raising the bar to having 3 councillors required for call-in is not in the best interests of the residents. The reasons are we already have very rare call-ins. We trust the officers. We have a track record of basically respecting their decisions on planning for the most part. We're a relatively quiet council. I note that in comparison with the other councils that have been considered. 2, if there is a call-in made, it has to meet the more strict preconditions that are in this new policy in terms of significant or potential wider impacts. So there's already a raising of the bar there. 3, it's not always easy to get in touch or replies from other councillors when you need to seeking support for a call-in. So this just makes that harder. And 4, most importantly to me, I believe this change will reduce the ability for individual councillors to have a greater capacity or chance, capacity to effectively represent the interests and values of people that elected them. For example, myself on environmental matters, which might be supported by so many other councillors. So I support the relinquishment of the threshold of objectors approach. I think that's good, as I believe there have been a small number of legitimate call-in circumstances that have been missed because of not enough formal objections. But I do think it is a better approach that we just have it a bit easier and capable for certain issues to be called in. So that's why I'm recommending that it be reduced to 2 councillors instead of 3, in a foreshadowed motion if this one loses.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gamble. Do I have any councillors speaking for the motion? Against the motion? Councillor Robbins will ask you to close the debate.
Thank you.
Sorry, my apologies, Councillor Phelan, who reserved the right. My apologies. Thank you very much.
Look, I can understand what Councillor Gamble's saying, but I think the planning scheme is the planning scheme. We adopt a scheme that's the planning for this municipality. Now, from my point of view, as I'll give up my age now, when I belonged to a council, there was no planning scheme. So we had lots of issues. Planning today is fairly straightforward because you plan to the scheme. And if you've got the area, farmland, rural residential, whatever it is, the problems we have when people want to plan outside the scheme, and that's when you have conflict. If you plan to the scheme, and I'm quite sure the officers, that's the way the planning officers plan according to the scheme that we've adopted. I think that there's issues that come up are the ones where people don't like the scheme and they want to plan against it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phelan. Thank you. Councillor Robbins, close the debate.
Thank you. I just want to make a clarification in relation to a comment that was made. When we call in a planning application, it's not a reflection on a lack of trust in the decision-making of the officers. It's because we think it's in the public interest for the matter to be decided in the chamber. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 7.8, the council plan on page 39 of the agenda. Councillors, are there any questions? No questions. I'll seek a mover to the motion. So, anyone like to move the motion? Councillor Robbins moving the motion, purposely ignoring it for a reason. Councillor Gamble seeking the participation of all councillors in this beautiful chamber. Thank you very much, Councillor Gamble, seconding the motion. Councillor Robbins.
Thank you. For Q3 of the first year of this council plan, it's great to see key initiatives coming along in all areas. We've already seen the community engagement plan tonight, which is an initiative under our community pillar, and the planning scheme amendment to implement the Growing Places strategy, which is being delivered under our livability pillar. As we know from the Q2 report, there was a delay in progressing key actions from the fleet transition plan, and that was so that a climate action working group could be established to really set that work up for success. I'm told that working group is having its first meeting this week, so that's a great milestone. And I know I'm really looking forward to seeing the core system transformation project completed, so I've got my fingers crossed for smooth sailing on that one. Thank you.
Thank you much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Gamble.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to thank the officers for the informative report with a lot of easy to read detail in the attachment 7.8. Many positives, focusing on the sustainability strategy objectives section. I note the Progressing Resilience Community Assets Program being done in partnership with the Barwon South West Climate Alliance, which is really good to see activity in that alliance arrangement. Work towards a Bruce Creek Waterway Management Plan, formation of an internal climate action working group, which Councillor Robbins just mentioned, to help implement climate emergency plan objectives. So this is planned to be a precursor for Golden Plains Shire to purchase its first EV, and I've always maintained that we should be leading and early adopters of EVs, especially given the expense of the Shire, and the benefits of a clean green image. But more so now with the economic imperative to do that as well. So I thank officers also for attending Landcare group meetings, and note that 90% of the budget used for weed and pest management programs across the Shire, which is good. So there are other things, there's much other work that's itemised in the document that demonstrates a busy and active council that is making progress in a lot of different areas. Thank you.
Thank you much, Councillor Gamble. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Nobody speaking against the motion. I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 7.9, the Central Highlands Resilient Agriculture Report on page 42 of the agenda. Councillors, are there any questions? There are no questions. I'll seek a mover. If there's no mover to the motion, it'll... Councillor Robbins moving, Councillor Phelan seconding the motion. Councillor Robbins, thank you.
Thank you. This report reflects what many of our local farmers already know firsthand, that climate variability, water insecurity and rising costs are already a reality. Farmers in the broader Central Highlands region are adapting through diversification and innovation. The report emphasises that the role for council is not to dictate on-farm practices, but to support regional infrastructure and rural livability and to connect farmers to relevant agencies and information. I'm happy to note the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Phelan?
No, I won't.
Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Councillor Phelan?
No, taking up from Councillor Robbins' comments, I think we're not getting involved in it, but we've only got to support the farmers who need some encouragement and some leadership. I think that most farmers in my community are well aware of what's going on, and they're trying to adapt to the way that the climate is maybe changing.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phelan. With no one speaking against the motion, councillors, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.11, Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes.
7:10.
Just seeing who was paying attention. Q3 Finance Report, item 7.10 on page 45 of the agenda. Are there any questions, councillors? Seek a mover. Moving motion, Councillor Robbins. Seconding the motion, Councillor Gamble. Councillor Robbins, thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see our cash balances have significantly improved. That's been a particular area of focus since the adoption of the revised budget. Lamandra Drive land sales during Q3 were below forecast, but 2 lots have sold in the current quarter and there's one due to settle in the next quarter as well, so that's all very good. There are a number of projects that have been advertised for tender, including 2 that I get asked about pretty regularly, which are the Northern Streetscapes and the contract for cleaning of public toilets. So looking forward to those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Gamble.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's good to read a significant favourable variance with much improved cash balance and extra sales of Lamandra Drive lots in Teesdale. The financial situation is looking much more healthy than, say, 6 months ago. And also in this document, residents can read about the, on page 48, many civil construction projects are awarded. And there's also a listing of forthcoming capital works and contracts awarded for more construction through the Shire. Thank you. And services provided.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gamble. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? No one speaking against the motion. I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Page 51 of the agenda, 7.11, Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes. I'll seek a move to the motion. Moving the motion, Councillor Robbins. Seconding the motion, Councillor Hayden. Thank you very much. Councillor Robbins, thank you.
Thank you. These are the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting that took place a couple of weeks ago. We have an active committee that scrutinises the items before it and provides a good level of oversight. It's important for councillors to receive and read the minutes, but we won't need to go into too much detail about it here tonight. A highlight, I might say, from this meeting was an update from the Environment and Open Spaces team on the progress they've made in establishing a contaminated land register. And it's quite fascinating work, and it's clear the team take a lot of pride in it, which is fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Hayden?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Thank you much. Councillor, would anyone like to speak against the motion? No one's speaking against the motion. I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 7.12, Councillor Expenses and Meeting Attendance Report. Page 52 of the agenda. Councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Kirby.
Thank you. Yes, I was just wanting to inquire why there is no budget for childcare expenses.
I'll divert the question through to our Director of Corporate Services, who well able to answer this question that's been asked a few times in the chamber.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Kirby. In relation to our budget allocation, as with all due respect to our current councillor group, it is not a direct need, but it is a commitment that we have that we would make childcare support available to any particular councillor. So we keep it showing in there as part of our commitment, and as we are two-thirds of the way through the year, if there was a need to allocate some budget, there is enough budget left to be able to allocate some to deal with that matter. But we do keep it there even though it's zero, to show that there is a commitment to be able to provide that level of that support where required.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you much, Councillor Kirby. Is there any further questions, councillors? No further questions. I'll seek a mover. Moving the motion.
Oh, yeah, I'll move.
Somebody else might. Councillor Phelan, moving the motion. Seconding the motion. Councillor Cook. Councillor Phelan, thank you.
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward that we're noting the expenditure of the councils, and I think that everything from what I can see is up above board, and I'll recommend it to the council.
Thank you much, Councillor Phelan. Councillor Cook.
Nothing further to say, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? No one's speaking against the motion. I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.13, Delegates Report, page 54 of the agenda. Would someone like to move the motion, the recommendation? Councillor Cook moving the motion. Councillor Robbins seconding the motion. My apologies.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is an ongoing report concerning the attendances at various boards and committees that the council deems necessary to attend, and I would recommend, it's nothing to see here really, and I recommend its acceptance.
Thank you much, Councillor Cook. Did you want to add to that, Councillor Cook, anything? Appreciating what you've been away for a little while, but you might not have anything personal to add, but I can come back to you if you. I might just go around the room. Councillor Robbins, just speaking to any items that.
Thank you. I attended Audit and Risk Committee, but I've already spoken about that, so I'll just mention I went to the opening event for the Wodie Alec netball and tennis court upgrades. As I've spoken about before, the Wodie netballers and footballers have been excluded from the Ballarat Football Netball League competition, but the netballers will have the opportunity to play in the Ballarat Netball Association Saturday competition and a new Sunday competition at Selkirk Stadium in Wendouree. The courts look really good and they're very well lit, and the girls have a lot of enthusiasm for their sport. Thank you.
Thank you much, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I attended a Municipal Association of Victoria pre-state council briefing meeting. It was online, so I've got that coming up this Friday, and as a delegate for the council. So I also attended Teesdale Community Planning Group meeting and there's a lot of discussion about things going on around Teesdale, and looking forward to the final arrangements to come back to council concerning the car park and potential pedestrian crossing across the shop. So I also went last Friday, given that my grandfather was a great steam engineer, I thought it was appropriate to catch, and was really looking forward to it, the steam train from Newport that travelled to Ballarat via our shire. This is, I think it's an annual event, but it was really interesting to see our shire from a totally different perspective and how good it did look, as well as, for example, it went across the viaduct bridge at Bateswood before travelling through a lot of grasslands up to Jerringhap, and from there right through like places like through Bluestone Rail bridges at Lethbridge, passing the many Bluestone stations that we have. So it was really good to see just how good our shire can look from from the, not just being a steam train, but just on a train that takes passengers potentially from Geelong up to Ballarat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gamble. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'd just like to report that I attended the Rokewood session of the Golden Plains Wind Farm Stage 3, and also I attended at the Cape Clear Memorial Hall as well. We had a good night at Cape Clear. We had at least 40 residents turn up, and that was after a meet and greet and a meal that they had there progressively beforehand. It's very interesting to hear what's happening in the future. We know that the lines, electrical lines, are on that radius heading towards Skipton, and it's just obvious that it's going to increase the participation of more wind turbines in the future. But I'd just like to say that after hearing their community benefits program, it's just amazing what's been offered. In the past, in our area, for Rokewood Stage 1 and 2, we were offered $1,000 a turbine. I did go in there with the opportunity to try and increase that to $1,500 per turbine, but I was officially told that in this next lot of community benefits, it's going to be ranging between $750,000 to $1 million per year for the next 35 years. And there's some great initiatives that can be had from within that radius of 10 kilometres around that wind farm. And I think there's some good planning for roads and people in some of them rural areas that could do with better roads. And there's a lot of other initiatives regarding, they could even have solar panels on their roofs, as well as a lot of other good initiatives for young and upcoming people. And I also spoke to them about increasing the awareness at the universities and the high schools of the jobs that will be available in the future for renewable energy. So this is it's a big thing for rural children to not have to travel too far to work, and if there is opportunities, it's all the better for our rural Golden Plains Shire.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Kirby. Councillor Irwin. Thank you. Councillor Hayden.
I had the pleasure of attending the Tiny Arts Inverleigh Exhibition Centre launch, and it was a really wonderful example of what community-led arts initiatives can bring to our region. It showcased over 160 teeny tiny artworks created by around 70 artists from all over Australia, featuring everything from mini watercolours and ceramics to tiny felt creations and miniature cities. But what stood out to me, I think, the most was not just the creativity on display, but the sense of connection and community the exhibition fostered. There were a number of interactive workshops, lots of kids around, local food, conversations between artists and visitors, and a really genuine atmosphere of warmth and inclusion. I sent a number of my young clients who come down from Melbourne to see me on Saturday down to see it, and they all absolutely loved it and raved about it. I think events like this are really important for our rural and regional communities. They bring people into our towns, support local businesses, create opportunities for artists and help strengthen community wellbeing and belonging. I want to particularly acknowledge the enormous work of all of the volunteers and also the support provided by Berrybank Wind Farm grant to have it going. It's really clear the event was driven by passion, creativity and a very strong commitment to community connection. And I hope this becomes a continued feature on our community calendar because it truly showcases the heart, creativity and spirit of Golden Plains.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you much. Councillor Hayden, thank you. I'd just like to acknowledge the past month as reflectively looking back on it has been a busy month, but a good month in terms of some of the rewards for some of our advocacy in the region. The CEO and I attended the announcement with Barwon Water, Surf Coast, Greater Geelong and the Borough of Queenscliff, where $20 million in funding was provided to Barwon Water as a contribution towards the construction of the Regional Renewable Organics Network. The project has been under development for many years now, about 6 years, and we've had an agreement with Barwon Water to provide our FOGO into the future. And also acknowledge that Director Josipovic was named at the day by Barwon Water there, and the work that you've done on behalf of us also. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you, Phil. Thank you. Also, as Councillor Robbins mentioned, along with the CEO, headed up to see the, as kids would say, the Fully Lit project. It was both lit in both senses, and that's a fantastic project there, and $900,000 being spent there. And to see all the kids running around there, it's a fantastic use of funds there. Also, we attended the Inverleigh lighting that was announced. That's a $320,000 project for Inverleigh, which will improve the safety and ensure that all teams have a fair and consistent access to those facilities. And that second oval will also be fully lit, which is fantastic. We also had the announcement in Haddon that $200,000 has been funded out of this budget for works in Haddon, and hopefully that will deliver a pump track into the future. Myself and the CEO yesterday headed up with GBAC, which is our Greater Ballarat Alliance Committee, and headed up there to launch the campaign of advocacy work ahead of the election on behalf of us all councils. So fantastic document. I shared that around this afternoon with councillors. That is a fantastic document that has been put together to highlight some of the great advocacy work which directly affect us all. And that's seeking stronger freight, infrastructure, the delivery of houses into our region and connected communities through public transport, and also as Councillor Cook raised during his budget speech there, which was the point of our photo shoot up there, was to seek the state government reinstate the Country Roads and Bridges program, which will be a fantastic contribution to all councils around the Shire if that comes into fruition. So a busy month there. So thank you very much, all councillors, to that. Thank you very much, and I'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Item 7.14, the CEO report. Are there any questions, or Mr. CEO, would you like to speak to that item?
Thanks, through Mr. Mayor. So probably just continuing on that theme, councillors obviously talking about roads earlier, so just to highlight, there was also some additional funding announced through a significant federal Roads to Recovery program grant that Catherine King announced for further work on the Stieglitz-She Oaks Road, and also through the Safer Local Roads and Streets program. A number of councillors, or probably all councillors, have seen all of the new pedestrian crossings and sort of the Wombat crossings being rolled out at the moment across the municipality. So we also have received a further bit over $500,000 in funding to partly continue some of those projects, but also for a variety of speed limit reduction projects that had been identified as priorities across the municipality. So the success with all of that funding has been great. And then a final smaller one, but an exciting one, is we got our new Flowcon truck delivered, and we spoke earlier about roads and the importance of investment in that. That's been a piece of plant we've been waiting on for a while. So I know through our maintenance program and the funding that councillors have highlighted, we'll have that out and about across the municipality to make sure we are improving the roads for the community.
Thank you very much. Mr. CEO. Councillors, are there any questions? No questions.
Could you explain the Flowcon truck and what it does?
Yep.
Just for the non...
I'll let Phil do the technical.
Excuse me. Flowcon truck is basically dispenses cold mix seal on sealed roads, so it's used for potholes, etc. But it has a number of different attachments, so you can do reasonable sized patches without having a dig out, but you can also do with another attachment, bit of an edge seal, so you can widen the edge seal or fix the edges of sealed roads. So it's basically a very expensive maintenance machine.
Happy with that, Mr. Cook?
Yes, just...
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll seek a mover that council note the CEO's operational report. Moving the motion, Councillor Kirby. Second the motion, Councillor Cook. Councillor Kirby.
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Thank you much.
Nothing further to say.
Thank you very much, councillors. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? If no one's speaking against the motion, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Item 8.1, which is a notice of motion that I have put forward to this evening's meeting. I will vacate the chair to put this motion forward, and I will seek that the Deputy Mayor chair this part of the meeting and also close the meeting given it's closed straight after that. Thank you.
I refer councillors to page 59 of the agenda for this report. Are there any questions? All right, Councillor Sharkey has vacated the chair to move this motion, so I'll assume he's the mover. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Phelan? Councillor Sharkey, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Councillors, the motion that I've put forward at this meeting is requesting a report into the potential development of an external grants and funding policy for our council. The purpose of this motion is to provide council with a greater understanding of how other councils are managing the governance, assessment and acceptance of external grant funding opportunities. As we know, grant funding can deliver significant benefits for our community and assists council in delivering important projects and services. However, there is also value in understanding how councils ensure these opportunities align with adopted strategic plans, financial priorities, operational capacity and long-term sustainability. A number of councils have adopted formal frameworks to guide the identification, assessment and management of grants, including unsolicited funding opportunities and election commitments. This motion simply seeks a report so that council can better understand what governance arrangements other councils have implemented, how grant opportunities are prioritised and assessed, what approval processes and risk considerations are commonly used, and whether there may be merit in considering a similar framework within our own organisation. Councillors, this motion is not seeking to predetermine any policy outcome tonight. Rather, it is about ensuring council is informed and has the opportunity to consider best practice approaches that may strengthen transparency, accountability and strategic alignment into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Phelan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. In supporting the motion, I think this has come about by the fact that recently we got money dumped on us from the state government regarding a pump track that's hadn't. The thing about it is that they've given us an X amount of dollars, but at the end of the day, we can't do much with it because to do the planning and everything to organise it, most of it will be absorbed, the money. So therefore, what we're trying to establish here that we need to know so we can foreshadow what we're going to need as far as money is concerned to complete it. The money that we've got can't complete it. We haven't got anything in our budget to do it, and it's just, well, with want of a better word, it's just been an election exercise, and now we're stuck with it.
Thank you. Is the motion opposed? Okay, if the motion isn't opposed, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. With no petitions, urgent business or confidential reports for decision, I'll declare the meeting closed at 7:25 p.m.
Thank you.
You're a lot quicker than the other bloke.